If you ever visited Maplewood, Illinois, and I mean actually lived here, not just drove through to avoid I-55 traffic, you'd know two things. First, the best almond croissants in the Midwest came from Penelope's Pantry, a bakery so adored by local moms and realtors that it had a 4-month wait list for custom birthday cakes and its own unofficial scone loyalty club. Second, my dad thought I was a burden. A disappointment. A barely passable tax write-off with a good handshake and bad luck. Of course, he wouldn't say that out loud. No, that'd be too honest. My dad was more into passive-aggressive life coaching. He'd say things like, "Some people just weren't built for the grind." Or, "I think you'd really thrive with a little more structure." And my personal favorite, "Not everyone has to be exceptional, Tyler." Thanks, Dad. I'll stitch that on a pillow and cry into it at night. I was 26 when the rent hike hit. It was a Tuesday, and I was already emotionally fragile from microwaving my only remaining frozen dinner, a sad chicken enchilada that tasted like regret and off-brand cumin. My landlord, Mr. Riggs, a man who wore gold chains over his turtlenecks and once called a broken pipe a character feature, emailed the notice like it was a friendly update. "Hi, Tyler! Just a heads up, rent's increasing by $400 starting next month. Appreciate your flexibility. House with garden." Flexibility? Sir, my spine already curves like a question mark from years of ramen and disappointment. I am very flexible. Just not $400 a month flexible. I stared at the email. Blinked. Tried to breathe. Checked my bank account, as if something magical might have changed in the last 4 minutes. Balance, $86.19. And I had a week until rent was due. Let me back up a bit. I work in IT, kind of. Freelance tech support, mostly. I fix things other people panic over, forgotten passwords, printer connections, Outlook being Outlook. If it beeps and won't work, I'm your guy. Problem is, I live in a town where I clicked the wrong thing. Is a full-time job for half the population, but paying for support? Oh no, that's asking too much. Which meant income was, let's say, volatile. I had good months and months where I rationed my peanut butter like it was gold. Still, I'd been making it. Barely. Until Mr. Turtleneck decided he needed a second jet ski. So I did something I never do. I called my dad. He picked up on the third ring with his usual greeting. "What's the damage?" "Charming, right?" "Hey, I started, pacing the length of my one-bedroom like it might generate extra courage. "I hate to ask, but I just found out my rent's going up. Like a lot. I've got a week. I'm short a few hundred. Could you maybe—" Before I could finish, he cut in. "That's on you." Silence. I blinked. "Sorry, what?" "You knew rent was due. You chose a freelance life. You've got to handle the consequences, son. But I've been doing everything. I'm not bailing you out because you can't plan. Maybe this'll teach you to take things more seriously." He hung up before I could say anything else. And just like that, I was 26, broke, and apparently getting a lecture about planning from a man who once lost our family dog during a 4th of July barbecue because he got distracted watching fireflies. I stood in my apartment for a long time. The kind of stillness where your own heartbeat sounds like background noise. And then, like a switch flipped, I whispered out loud. "Okay. Fine." I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't even throw my phone, mainly because it was a refurbished Android with a crack in the corner, and I needed it for work. But I did get to work. Because if there's one thing being neglected by your own father teaches you, it's how to survive when nobody's coming to save you. And maybe, just maybe, how to outgrow the people who hoped you never would. There's a unique kind of panic that comes with realizing your rent is due in 7 days and you have roughly the financial stability of a paper towel in a thunderstorm. The morning after my dad's motivational speech, "That's on you," echoing in my brain like a passive-aggressive ringtone, I woke up at 6:30, stared at the cracked ceiling above my bed, and made a list. Literally. On the back of a grocery receipt. 1. Beg every old client for work. 2. Check Craigslist for gigs that don't sound like serial killer traps. 3. Sell something? 4. Stay alive. It wasn't the most ambitious list, but it was honest. By 9 a.m., I had already messaged 12 former clients, most of whom I hadn't heard from in months. One guy replied immediately. "Hey man! Sorry, we're good now. My nephew does all our IT and only charges in pizza, lol." "Of course he does, Greg." The rest left me on read. I tried offering to update a friend's website for $30. He said he'd circle back. I refreshed my inbox so many times Gmail politely asked if I needed help. Around noon, I remembered that Penelope's Pantry, the sacred bakery my dad worshipped like it was the Vatican of gluten, used to call me for emergency printer jams. I'd helped them for free twice. Once because I liked their banana bread. The second time because Mrs. Penelope had cried and said, "You're like a young wizard, dear." It was worth a shot. I stopped by the shop and peeked through the window. It was packed, as usual, with yoga moms, retirees, and one guy in a Patagonia vest aggressively explaining the difference between espresso and drip to someone who absolutely didn't ask. Mrs. Penelope spotted me through the glass and waved me in like I was family. "Tyler!" she chirped, hands floury. "It's been too long, sweetie. Printer's fine for once. Come to fix my Wi-Fi with your magic hands?" "Not this time," I said, forcing a smile. "Actually, I was wondering if you might need help. With anything. Tech, online stuff, delivery setup, social media, back-end, even dishwashing." Her eyes softened. "Oh, honey. Things are tight right now. We've got Lily doing the Instagram and my nephew comes by every weekend for tech." "Another nephew?" "Of course." I nodded. "Totally get it." I turned to leave, trying not to let the banana bread smell trigger an emotional collapse, when she added, "Wait. We're switching point-of-sale systems next week. I have no idea what I'm doing with the new one. If you can come by Saturday morning, I'll pay you what I can." It wasn't a miracle. But it was something. And sometimes, something is all you need to keep the spiral at bay. That night, I went home and updated my website, if you could call a one-page Google site with broken links a website, and rebranded myself as Local Tech Pro, fast, fair, and not a nephew. The next few days were brutal. I walked dogs during the day, fixed a retired teacher's Kindle for a $5 Starbucks gift card, and helped an old high school friend live stream her cat's birthday party to 10 viewers. Her mom tipped me in leftover sushi. But each gig added a little to the jar. I stopped buying actual meals and became a peanut butter on saltine connoisseur. I stretched my last $40 across 5 days by mastering the dollar menu like it was a culinary art. I also stopped answering calls from my dad. Not that he tried hard. One text came through. "You figure it out?" Didn't respond. I wanted to. I wanted to say, "Yes, I figured it out," while crying into a ham sandwich made from gas station meat and recycled napkins. But I didn't. Instead, I hustled. Saturday arrived, and I helped Mrs. Penelope get the new payment system working. It took 5 hours, a lot of holding down random buttons, and one power outage that turned out to be her cat sitting on a surge protector. She paid me $120 in cash, gave me 2 free croissants, and a hug that felt more genuine than anything I'd gotten from my family in years. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment, because my chair had a cracked leg and trust issues, and stared at the money. It still wasn't enough to cover rent. But it was something new, momentum. And momentum, unlike money, couldn't be evicted. I tucked the cash away, set 3 alarms, and went to bed with a plan. If I was going to survive this month, I'd need more than luck. I'd need to be the most stubborn person in this entire cursed zip code. And I'd need to be willing to work like my life depended on it. Because, well, it kind of did. By week 2 of my rent hustle, I was running entirely on caffeine, borrowed hope, and half-functioning headphones duct taped together like a war relic. But here's the wild part. Something was happening. It started small. A DM from a woman named Cheryl who said, "Hi. My sister said you fixed her laptop and didn't make her feel stupid. Can you fix mine too?" That right there? Gold. Making someone not feel stupid was apparently a premium service now. I took the job, charged $60, and she left a 5-star review on a community Facebook group called Maplewood Moms That Mean Business. Which, by the way, is terrifyingly powerful. The next morning I woke up to 7 messages. Most were harmless. My Wi-Fi won't reach the garage. Can you make my printer stop yelling at me? My iPad locked me out and I think it's mad. But one caught my eye. Hi Tyler. My name's Sam. I run a design agency in town. We need IT help once a week. You interested? I blinked. Read it again. It felt like the kind of message people in feel-good movies get before they start smiling in montages. We met the next day. His office was in an old bank building downtown, exposed brick, hanging plants, too many whiteboards. He looked like he lived off espresso and wore jeans that cost more than my entire furniture setup. Still, he was kind, direct, and best of all, serious. I don't need a full-time guy, he said. But I do need someone I can trust not to delete Dropbox by accident. Fair. We shook hands. He offered $200 a week for maintenance, tech help, and occasional talk and turned down from a settings menu. Therapy. I didn't play it cool. I said, yes. So fast I think I startled him. For the first time in months, I could breathe a little. Not a lot. Rent was still a beast. But now it felt beatable. I started tracking every dollar, Google Sheets, sticky notes, napkins. If I found a quarter in the couch, I logged it. If I got tipped in gas station snacks, I calculated resale value. I never felt so focused. Or caffeinated. Each day had a rhythm now. Mornings fixing tablets for retirees. Afternoons at the design agency. Evenings updating client websites while eating tuna with a fork straight from the can like a raccoon with Wi-Fi. No one in my family knew. And honestly, that felt good. Not out of spite. Out of peace. There was something powerful in doing something without their commentary. No constructive feedback from my dad. No passive-aggressive text from my mom asking if I'd tried being more assertive. It was just me. Building. And despite how exhausting it was, I started to feel, slowly, cautiously, proud. One night, I passed Penelope's and noticed a line out the door. In the window, I saw their new point-of-sale system lit up and running smoothly. Mrs. Penelope caught my eye through the glass and gave me a thumbs up while handing a kid a cupcake. And something clicked. I may not have had a degree, a trust fund, or a plan approved by my father. But I was useful. And sometimes, being useful is enough to get you through the hard parts. Especially when no one expects it. There's a weird stage of hustling where you're still broke, but not as broke. Like, you can afford real cereal again, but you still rinse out Ziploc bags to reuse them. That's where I was. The agency gig with Sam became regular. Cheryl's Moms That Mean Business group kept the referrals coming. At one point I was helping a woman reset her Wi-Fi while she microwaved goat milk for her Pomeranian. And I wasn't even mad. Business was weird. But steady. I upgraded my headphones. Bought a second-hand desk chair that didn't squeak like a haunted rocking horse. Even found a used space heater so I could work without wearing 3 hoodies like a sad tech marshmallow. And somewhere in that quiet middle space, between struggle and stability, I started noticing things I hadn't before. Like the building Sam's agency was in. The old bank. 3 floors. Exposed brick. Huge arched windows that caught afternoon light like a movie set. Most of it wasn't used. The agency only occupied the 2nd floor, and the rest had been vacant since forever. I started staying late to finish work there. The place had good energy. No one breathing down my neck. No constructive input from my dad. Just me, the hum of a server rack, and a vending machine that still sold Gushers. Sam didn't mind. In fact, one night, he passed me a keycard. "You're here more than half my staff," he said. "Use the space if you want." That keycard was a turning point. Not because of access. Because it felt like trust. And trust wasn't something I grew up getting handed. That weekend, I passed by my parents' house. Not intentionally, the shortcut to my apartment cut through their neighborhood. The lights were on. Their new SUV was parked in the driveway. There were 2 delivery boxes stacked on the porch from some high-end meal kit brand with "Farm to Door" slogans slapped across them like a flex. And for some reason, I felt nothing. No bitterness. No ache. Just a small flicker of clarity. These were the same people who'd said, "That's on you," like it was gospel. The same ones who told me I needed to be more like Daniel, my cousin, who once tried to start a podcast about cryptocurrency for pets. They hadn't checked in. Not once. Not even a, "How's it going?" after that call. And honestly, that silence was kind of a gift. Because it gave me room to choose who I wanted to become. On Monday, I overheard Sam talking with a real estate agent in his office. Something about the building lease. I wasn't eavesdropping, okay, I was eavesdropping. But only because I heard my favorite sentence fragment of all time. "The owner's planning to sell." I froze. Sell? I glanced around the office like it might answer my questions. My fingers hovered above my keyboard, but all I could think was, what if? I didn't have the money. Not even close. But I did have steady work, a growing list of clients, and a reputation as the guy who fixed problems without making people feel dumb. I didn't say anything that day. But that night, I opened a spreadsheet titled, "If I Ever Stop Drowning," and renamed it. Planned to buy the damn building. And I started filling it out. Costs. Loans. Who I could ask. What it might take. It was ridiculous. It was impossible. But it wasn't unthinkable anymore. Not for the guy who used to ration peanut butter. Not for the guy who kept showing up when no one else did. Especially not for the guy who remembered what it felt like when someone said, "That's on you." And he took it, not as punishment, but as permission. Permission to write his own ending. I didn't tell anyone about the spreadsheet. Not Sam. Not Cheryl. Definitely not my dad. It lived on my hard drive under the label, Adobe Update Final_Final. If that doesn't scream secret hope, I don't know what does. Every night, after work, I added to it columns, projections, notes like, "Call county office, taxes? Check commercial loan stuff, terrifying. Find a lawyer who won't ghost me after seeing my bank account." It was dumb. But it was mine. One afternoon, Sam poked his head into the IT room while I was reinstalling drivers for a design intern who swore her computer was possessed. "Random," he said. "You ever think about starting your own shop?" I froze mid-keystroke. "What kind of shop?" "You know, tech repair, consulting, stuff you do now. You've got a following. Cheryl's group practically worships you. I've heard 3 people call you the cable whisperer. One lady said you fixed her router with your energy." I laughed. "That's just because I unplugged it, waited 10 seconds, and told it we believed in its potential." Sam shrugged. "Still worked. Just saying, if this building gets sold, you should think about locking down a space. I'd kill to keep you around." That night, I added a new line to the spreadsheet. "Open loan repair plus consulting biz?" I started quietly researching small business loans, which is a humbling experience. Nothing makes you doubt your entire life like a bank website asking you to estimate your Year 3 growth forecast, when your current net worth is, "I own a slow toaster." Still, I kept going. I took on more side work. Started helping small shops set up basic cybersecurity systems, which really meant, stop using your birthday as your password. I made enough to put real money aside. Not a fortune. But more than just rent. Then one day, while fixing a busted Ethernet port at the agency, I overheard Sam again, this time, talking to the building manager directly. "Yeah, I heard Mrs. Calder's thinking about letting go of the ground floor. The bakery's lease ends in April. Might not renew." I nearly dropped my screwdriver. Penelope's pantry? Not renewing? I couldn't picture Maplewood without it. The croissants, the warm lighting, the chalkboard menu with seasonal puns like, "You oughtum know better." But part of me, a small, strategic, terrifying part, leaned in. Because if that space opened up, and if I could get the loan, and if I could land even a few small contracts, that could be it. My own place. Street level. With windows. Maybe a sign that said something dumb like, "Tyler Tech, no judgment, just fixes." I walked home that night buzzing like a soda can that had been shaken. I passed my parents' neighborhood again. Their porch lights were off. It was the first time I noticed how small their house looked. Not physically. Just emotionally. Like the place I used to try so hard to earn space in had quietly shrunk behind me. My phone buzzed. A text from my dad. Dad, your mom says you've been doing computer stuff. Glad you're staying busy. No question mark. No warmth. Just that weird, detached tone he used when trying to pretend he was proud, but also not too interested in the details. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my spreadsheet and added another line. When they find out, don't gloat. Just keep building. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about finally seeing what I was capable of, when no one was watching. Especially the people who used to call that a failure. I made the call on a Thursday. The number I found online for the building's listing agent was buried on a PDF from a county zoning board site last updated in 2014. Exactly the kind of thing you only find if you're deeply desperate or dangerously caffeinated. A woman named Brenda answered. She sounded like someone who wore chunky bracelets and had no time for games. Hi, Brenda, I said. I'm calling about the old bank building on 5th and Maple. I heard it might go on the market. It is, she said. But we're not doing open listings yet. You looking to lease or buy? I swallowed. Buy. Eventually. There was a pause, then a sigh, not rude, just practical. Listen, kid. This is commercial property. It's not a lemonade stand. You got financing in place? Working on it, I said. Just need details. To her credit, Brenda didn't laugh. She emailed me the listing within 5 minutes. I opened it like it might explode. $390,000. 3 floors. Mixed zoning. Needs updates. Owner, motivated to sell to local buyer. My hands were shaking. I did math like my life depended on it, because it kind of did. Down payment, fees, inspections, interest, insurance. It was like playing Monopoly while your apartment's on fire. I wasn't ready. But I could get ready. And for the first time in my life, that didn't feel like a joke. I made a list. A new one. No more napkin goals. No more jars. This one had real numbers. Dates. Loan options. Lenders who offered programs for first-time small business buyers. And wouldn't run away when they saw I'd eaten ramen 3 nights in a row last month. I looped in Cheryl, quietly. She'd helped launch a local bookstore once and still had contacts with small biz advisors. Her response? Took you long enough. Let's make you legit. She connected me with someone named Mateo, accountant, absolute wizard, and part-time bartender with a love for spreadsheets and espresso. We met at a diner. He looked at my finances and said, Okay, we're not drowning. Just treading water with bricks in our shoes. Comforting. But he had a plan. And I had momentum. The bakery, meanwhile, had a sign out front that read, New location coming soon. Follow us on IG for updates. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. I just opened my spreadsheet, yes, that one, and typed. Window of opportunity, don't flinch. And then, out of nowhere, I got a text from my mom. Mom, your dad saw your name on the permit list. Are you opening something? Permit list? I froze. Then checked the city's public records site. Sure enough, there it was. Application for zoning inquiry, tech service/repair, 124 Maplewood Avenue. Applicant, Tyler M. Green. I hadn't realized it was public yet. The bakery was still operating for 2 more months, but I was already starting the legal prep, laying groundwork, setting meetings. I hadn't told anyone. Not even Sam. And now my family knew. A minute later came a second text. Mom. He's surprised. Said you never mentioned anything. No punctuation. Just that vague, floaty guilt tone she always used when trying to sound supportive, without ever admitting she'd missed something. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. They'd find out soon enough, not because I wanted them to. But because some things don't need applause to be real. Sometimes the work just speaks. Even when no one clapped for it at the start. Saturday morning started like any other. Coffee, bagel, checking emails from a hardware store whose entire IT system I'd migrated to Google Workspace for a $100 gift card and a high five. Then a knock at the door. Now I don't get knocks. Everyone under 30 texts. So I peeked through the peephole like I was in a crime thriller. And there he was. Dad. Holding a coffee. Wearing his casual but controlled look, quarter zip, forced smile, shoes too clean. I opened the door slowly. Morning, he said. You got a minute? I didn't. I had 8 tabs open, a spreadsheet screaming for updates, and a city planner who wanted to discuss sidewalk accessibility. But I stepped aside anyway. He walked in, looked around, nodded like he was evaluating it for an HGTV segment titled Mild Disappointment, Minimal Upgrades. So, he said, sitting stiffly, we saw your name on a permit. Your mom thought maybe it was a mistake. I leaned against the kitchen counter. It's not. Silence. Then, you're buying the old bank building? I'm trying to. He blinked. Twice. That same blink he used to give when I came home with a B instead of an A, like I just sneezed in the Louvre. Why that place? It has space. Good bones. Great network infrastructure. Another pause. And Penelope's is leaving? Yeah. They're moving. Bigger kitchen, apparently. He took a slow sip of his coffee. You know your mother loves that place. I almost laughed. I do. She's going to be upset. I tilted my head. She didn't text me when I was sleeping on an air mattress. I think she'll survive. He didn't flinch. He just stared. Then came the real reason he showed up. Well, I was thinking, since you're doing something serious now, maybe we could talk. About next steps. Maybe your cousin Daniel could. Nope. He blinked again. No, Daniel. He raised an eyebrow. He's been looking into tech work. Dad, I said, keeping my voice level. I asked for help when I had nothing. You said that's on you. And I took that seriously. He shifted in his seat. That's not what It is. It was. And it's okay. Because now it is on me. All of it. We sat in silence. The coffee between us steamed like tension in a mug. Then, because I couldn't help it, I added. You only showed up because you saw my name on a building. He didn't deny it. Didn't apologize either. He stood. Cleared his throat. Looked around one more time, like maybe something about my IKEA lamp might offend him. Well, he said. Good luck with the whole thing. Thanks. He hesitated at the door. Then left. I sat down, stared at my laptop, and opened the spreadsheet. One new entry. Confirmed, they only knock when success answers. I didn't feel angry. Or even smug. I felt tired. Because proving yourself to people who never believed in you is exhausting. And for once, I didn't need to prove anything. The space would be mine soon. The bakery lease had 2 weeks left. The permit was in motion. And I'd already picked the name. Circuit and Company, tech that gets you. Because sometimes you need a sign that says exactly what you wish someone had told you a long time ago. The for lease sign came down on a Tuesday. No fanfare. No balloons. Just Brenda, the chunky bracelet realtor, handing me a manila envelope with a stack of keys and a thin, skeptical smile. You've got guts, kid, she said. Let's hope you've got wiring to match. I did. Both figuratively and literally. The bakery's furniture had been cleared the day before. The chalkboard sign with seasonal puns was gone. The little bell above the door still jingled, but now it echoed across bare tile floors and open space. I stood inside my building. My building. Circuit and Company wouldn't launch for another month. There was wiring to redo, a counter to build, a sign to hang. But I already had business lined up. Clients waiting. People who believed in what I'd built, not because of who my family was, but because of who I'd become. That afternoon, I was screwing a monitor mount into the wall when I heard the door jingle. I turned, expecting a contractor or maybe Cheryl. It was my parents. My mom looked around the empty space like someone entering a museum dedicated to disappointing surprises. My dad just looked uncomfortable. Hands in pockets. Eyes darting. You're really doing it, he said. I already did. There was a pause. Then my mom added, I didn't think Penelope would actually leave. She wanted more kitchen space, I said simply. And a landlord who'd fixed the plumbing. Another pause. Then came the line I didn't expect. I wish you told us, she said. We would have supported you. I looked at them. At the two people who let silence answer when I needed help. At the man who said, That's on you. Like he was passing down wisdom instead of washing his hands. I asked for support once, I said. You told me to handle it. You did, my dad said like it was a compliment. You really handled it. I nodded. I did. They lingered, waiting for something. An invitation. A thank you? Maybe a nostalgic laugh about scones and struggle. But I had drywall to patch. So I just smiled, polite but distant. I have work to do. They left without another word. And I felt nothing but calm. Later that week, I hosted a soft opening, just a handful of clients and friends. Cheryl brought cookies. Sam gave me a framed photo of an old motherboard with the caption, He fixed the system. Penelope stopped by with a pie and hugged me so hard my spine cracked. You always had it in you, she said. They just weren't paying attention. That night, I sat behind my new counter, not fancy, but mine, and watched the streetlights flicker on outside. Across the road was the bakery's old sign, now blank. Above my head a new one. Circuit and Company, tech that gets you. I didn't post anything online. No announcement. No. Look who made it. I didn't need to. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's being exactly who they thought you couldn't be, without needing them to notice. And sometimes the only response to, That's on you, is, Yeah. It was. And I handled it.